Following along with my other tutorials, you'll see that we've done a lot of stuff in a low poly style, which is a look that I really enjoy. I think it's really fast, it's really creative, and you can just kind of put your ideas out there. If you've seen a lot of other 3D work, you'll know that it tends to look quite different to that, and it has smooth curves and rounded edges. Wheels look like wheels rather than kind of hexagons. And I've been trying to work out the best way to tackle that because it's a concept called subdivision modeling, and a lot of people find that when they come to 3D, that's the kind of work that they want to do, and it's immediately difficult and a challenge. So I've been putting off doing this, but I think we're ready to kind of tackle how we make smooth surfaces. So we're going to make another simple vehicle today, partly because those shapes are kind of easy to explain, and partly because I quite like cars. So yeah, we're going to do another simple car, and we're going to go in stages, kind of tackle the elements of subdivision modeling. So we're going to start as ever with our default scene, so file and new if you haven't got that up already. And I'm just going to turn on my screen keys so you can see what I'm doing. So we're going to start with our cube, and we're going to start by applying the subdivision modifier. So if you go over to your wrench and modifiers tool, and we're going to search for it because it might not be the first thing that comes up for you. And if we apply it, our cube turns into a kind of sphere. And the reason that it's done that is Blender is trying to simplify the shape. So it's taken, if I just turn it off again by clicking on the monitor, if we go into edit mode, we've got these hard edges that make up our shape. And when we turn on our modifier, Blender is trying to interpret the best route from these edges to make the shape. And if we turn up our levels, it becomes more and more rounded until you get this kind of squashed sphere. Okay, that might not make a lot of sense at the moment, but it will make more sense as we progress. So I'm going to delete a modifier, and we're going to start with our cube, and we're going to edit mode and put a cut down the middle with Control and R. So it's going to go along the y-axis. And then we're going to go into vertex mode and turn on our X-ray, and we're going to drag and delete half of the object like this. Okay, and we're just going to turn off X-ray mode and make sure we haven't got a face in the center. If you do, for whatever reason, we're going to delete that, but you shouldn't have. And then we're going to turn on our mirror modifier, so it should already be open there. And we're going to search and mirror, and if it doesn't come up, type MIR. We want to make sure clipping is turned on. That's very important. And we're then going to stretch this out to make a basic car body shape. So we're going to work in low poly to start with, and then we'll apply the modifier. So we're going to select this back face, and using G and Y, we're going to pull it along. Let's put it about there. And we're going to select the front face and do the same, so that our X line is kind of in the middle still. And then I'll reduce the height of this, so pull it down to about this. I'm just kind of roughing out the shapes at the moment. I've got a rough idea where I want to go, but we'll see what happens. So we'll put a cut in with Control and R, and we'll push this towards the back, and then we'll put a cut in with Control and R here. Yeah, we'll go about there, I think. And then if you push the 1 key to go into vertex mode, I'm just going to shift select these two, and then using G and the X, we're going to pull this in a little bit. And then we're going to do the same at the back, G and X. I want to work in as simple a shapes as possible at the moment so that I can make any changes that I need to easily. And let's have this shape here. Do I want this to be a little bit longer? Yeah, I think so. So we're going to shift select all of these. Make sure you select all 4. And hit G and X, G and Y, sorry. Pull this back a little bit. And I think we can do the same here. I can't really decide how I want this to look yet. So we're just going to experiment a little bit. G and Y, and pull that back. Let's go with this for now. And I think I just want to take a little bit more of the height out. So I'm going to push the 3 key and then select the faces, and G and Z, and just pull this down a bit. And let's start by insetting this front face. So we're going to select this face and hit I, and then pull it in a little bit. And if we go down to this inset faces box at the bottom, if you turn off the boundary checkbox, you'll see that this part disappears, so it then works with the mirror modifier to turn this whole thing into a frame rather than framing here. So that's what we want. We'll hit E and then extrude it in, and we'll make a kind of grill. And then I want to put another cut here. So just kind of to this space. And then we're going to hit the 3 key again and select. We're going to pull this up yet? No, not yet. I don't think. I think we want to put in another cut here first. So Control and R is putting a cut here. And then we're going to select these 2 faces. So E to extrude. I'm going to pull it up like this. And you can see we've got the start of a kind of old-fashioned hot rod type cut. That's what I'm going for anyway. And let's use the 2 key to select these edges. And we'll just G and X and pull it in slightly. And then we're going to select this one and G and Y and pull it back quite a bit. Okay, so we've kind of got the start. Let's take this one as well, G and Y, and just pull this in a little bit too. Okay, so let's see what happens if we apply the subdivision surface to this now. So one thing to just check before we do that is turn off your mirror. Make sure that you haven't got any faces in here. If you didn't turn on clipping mode, when you've extruded it might create a face in here. If it's done that, you just go into edit mode and select the face and then hit X to delete it. But if yours is like mine and it's hollow, then you're all good. So we're going to turn that back on again. And let's add our subdivision modifier, subdivision surface. And let's set the levels to 2. Okay, so you can see now that it's divided the mesh into loads of different faces and we smooth it over. And it's kind of giving us what we want. If we right click on this and then choose Shade Smooth, it'd be even smoother. So why is this part quite lumpy? Like it's not as defined as we'd like. So what we're going to do is going to hit Tab to go into edit mode, and you'll see that we get the outline of the low poly mesh, and then underneath we see the smooth version. So let's put a loop cut in here. So Control and R, so it goes across like this, and then pull it down. And you can see now, if we then tab, Blender starts to put in that hard edge because you're giving it more information that this point here should be closer to here. And if I just delete this and show you what happens if we put it at a different point, as you drag it up and down, you can see Blender calculating where the curve should be. So we're going to put one down here, and then we'll do the same thing and pull one up at the top. Now if you go right to the top, you get a hard edge. I like a slightly softer edge, so something like that. And then let's tab out and see what we've got. So we're starting to define this kind of cockpit area of the car. Let's put in another cut here now, because I want this front to be quite a hard edge. And then we'll just tab out to look at it. So this is where things start to get a bit complicated. If you look here, it's put this edge and given us a sharp edge to the front of the windscreen, which is great. That's what we want. But then it's also put a line down here. Now for this model, that's great because we're making a toy car and everything can be kind of simple angular shapes. When you get further down the road and you start making realistic looking cars and vehicles, that could be a problem because this might be curved, but this part might be straight. There are ways to tackle that, but we're not going to worry about that today. And in fact, we're going to put another cut in here to sharpen this edge up. So now you'll see we've got a sharp edge here and a sharp edge here. And it's starting to look more like the cockpit of a car. So let's carry on. Let's put another sharp edge here at the front to define this edge. So you're just going to go through with your Control and R's, and just any edge that you want to be sharper, you're going to put a loop cut in. And I think we've got it looking pretty good. So I quite like this curve that we've got at the back. I like this cockpit shape. Let's try putting another cut in here and just leaving it as it is. And that shouldn't affect the shape too much because it's already flying on that line. And then we're going to put one in here as well. And then if we move to the side view, and we're going to turn on X-ray mode, we'll push 1 to go into vertex, and then turn on X-ray mode, drag over these, and just pull this down. And we're going to pull this one down as well. I'm just going to manually make a little bit of a curve. And you can see we can kind of build in just a softer edge to that if you want. So I like how that's looking. Okay, I don't want this bottom part to be curved like this. So we're going to go tab in, and it doesn't matter if you're in vertex or edge. Hit Control and R, and then I'll pull this down here, quite close to the bottom. There we go. We've got a basic shape of a toy car. I'd like this edge here to be match this one. So we'll put in a loop cut here. I'll put a loop cut here. And that edge should now be sharp too. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. I think we could maybe, if we want to, let's see how this looks. If we put an edge in here. Let's just sharpen that up. Yeah, I think that works. So this is where you need to start using judgment, because you might not want an edge like that. This is your design. But yeah, I'm happy with that. So we've got a simple hot rod car shape. And let's call this car body. So the F2 key, and that's car body. Okay, so now let's go to the side view. And we're just going to move all of this up to make way for the wheels. Okay, so now we're going to go Shift and A, and we're going to just make sure you're not in edit mode, so you're not seeing any of these lines and vertexes. If you are, tab out, so you're just in object mode. And then we're going to add in a circle. And if we rotate the camera, we can see this is quite a detailed circle. We don't need that amount of detail. I'll show you why. If we change this to 12 vertices, and then move it on the G, so on the X, and then we're going to rotate it on the Y 90 degrees, and then we'll go back to our side view. I like to work it with it facing this way. So if we just move it to the side like this, and then we apply our modifier again, subdivision surface, and ramp this up to 2, you'll see that it smooths it out to a circle for us. So we don't need to work with loads of faces. And I would advise, especially when you're starting out with Blender, it's a good idea to work with as fewer faces as possible, because it's much easier to make big changes. If you've got loads of detailed faces and shapes, when you try and make changes, it's a lot harder. So I always try and work with as simple shapes as I can. So we're just going to turn off this modifier for now. And we're going to make our wheel shape with this. So we're going to go into edit mode and then hit 2 and select our edges. So if you just click off and hit A, you can select all of them. And we're going to hit E to extrude and S to scale. And we're going to bring it in like this, like a tire. We're going to hit E and then click and G and X to pull it in. So you should be used to this from the previous lessons that we've done, but we'll just go through it in stages again. So we're going to hit E and then scale. And again, it's up to you how detailed you want your wheel to be. E and click and then pull it in. Then let's hit E and S to scale. And then I'll hit G and Y, X, sorry, and pull this back like this. Okay, and then I'm going to hit E again, S to scale. You should be pretty bored of this at this point. And G and X to pull it out. E to extrude, S to scale. G and X to pull it out a little bit more. Then we're going to do it one more time. E to extrude, S to scale. G and X to pull it out a tiny bit. And then hit F to face it off. Then we're going to go back into edit mode and hit 2 to get our edge select. And then if you remember, if you hit Alt and click on this gap here, so between the lines, it'll select the entire outline. Then we're going to hit E and X, and we're going to pull it back to make the depth of the wheel. And then we're going to rotate the camera and do the same thing. So E and S to scale it down. That's going to be much simpler on the back. So get it roughly to the same tire side. It doesn't really matter for this. E and S again. I'm going to hit G and X to pull it in. E and S to scale it down. Let's give it another detail. E and X to pull it in. E and S. And then we're just going to get to about there. We're going to hit E and X and pull it back to make an axle. We want it to be quite far out. Okay, so now if we turn on our subdivision surface, okay, that's looking interesting. Let's turn on Shade Smooth, so right click and Shade Smooth. So the shape's good, but we're losing the hard edges that define it. We're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to go into edit mode and let's make an edge here and just maybe pull it all the way to the edge and then pull it back a little bit. And we'll do the same thing here, all the way down like that. And then we're just going to work our way through the model and just pull it up so that it's got a little bit more definition. I don't like super hard edges. I think it's nice to have a little bit of softness, because if you look at anything in real life, it's never got a perfectly sharp edge, apart from a knife maybe. But if you look at a toy, like, it's got softer rounded edges, especially for a kid's toy. So you'll find that your renders look a lot more believable if you don't have perfectly hard edges. You might also find it's a bit tricky at this point to see what's going on, so you can always turn off your modifier with that button there. And then let's put in loop cuts here so that these are nice edges. And we're going to do one here. And we can just turn it on again, see the result. And that's starting to look a lot better. So let's put one in here. And then I want this part to be rounded, but I want the edge that it starts at to be hard. So there we go. And we're going to do the same on the other side. We can see this is looking pretty good now. So we're going to pull this edge across, and we're going to do the same thing on the top. And then we shouldn't have as much to do on the back, but let's just go through, and I'm going to turn off my modifier again to help me out. So I want an edge here, one here. Let's put the edges in here, so it's just controlling that every time. And you'll see that a lot of 3D work is just repeating the same things over and over, so it becomes very natural very quickly. So there's our jagged hexagon, or whatever 12-sided shape is. And then if we turn it on, we've got a wheel like that. There's one more bit of detail I want to add in, and that's go back into edit mode. And then if we move our mouse here, put a loop cut, but then we move our middle mouse wheel, and then click, we can put 4 cuts in. You can actually change this here if you want more, but let's go with 4. If you don't have a middle mouse wheel, if you just put 1 cut in and click, and then this will pop up and you can add in the 4 there. Then we're going to go over to the bevel tool on this side of the screen. And just going to pull this out a little bit. We're going to make some tire treads. So now if we right click, and I think you can do this from this menu. I guess not. Okay, I'm going to teach you another shortcut. So if we do Alt and E, there we go, our extrude menu comes up, and then we're going to choose extrude faces along the normal. So we're just going to pull it in like this, just a little bit. And then if we tab out to see it, we've got this cool looking like tire track. So it's an easy way to just start adding a bit of detail into your model. Let's go to the side view now, position this to where we want. So I'm just going to move my camera and pick up my wheel, G, and drag it. And maybe you want a bigger wheel at the back. Let's do something like this. I'm going to push it in so that it cuts into the model. So it looks like the axle's going inside. And then we are going to apply a mirror modifier. And we want to make sure that that's set to this, the Z-axis, but we want to mirror it on our car. So we're going to click the eyedropper inside the car body. It doesn't want to be on the Z-axis at all. It wants to be on the X-axis. There we go. So even after doing this for years, I still make mistakes. So, you know, don't give yourself a hard time if you make mistakes as we go. And then we're going to take the front wheel and move it, would you believe, to the front. So we're going to select this wheel and hit Shift and D, and then we're going to move it forward. And I want this one to be a bit smaller, so it's got like a kind of hot rod dragster feel. So I'm just going to move it with G, and Z, and let's position this kind of here. And maybe we can just pull these in a little bit too. Let's see how we're looking. I think my car body might be a little bit wide, so we're going to select it and then hit S to scale and scale on the X-axis. I might just make it a little bit more, a little thinner, a little more race car-like. And we'll just move our wheels in a bit more. So I'm just kind of always tweaking and trying different ideas out. So there we go, we've got a bit of a hot rod car shape. Let's add in a front mudguard. It's another chance to do some subdivision modelling. So we're going to make a plane. Before we do that, actually let's name this, good practice. Front wheel. And F2 again, back wheel. And if you look on the side, everything's kind of neatly named. It's the way you need to keep track. So let's add a plane now. Make sure you're in object mode, not edit mode. And then we're going to go to plane. And I'm just going to move this to the side for now. And let's do things a little bit differently. So we're going to hit Tab, and I'm going to hit the 1 key, and I just want one vertex. So we're going to select each of these with the Shift key, and then hit X and delete it so we have a single vertex. And then we're going to flip to the side view, and we're going to put that vertex. Let's put it here. And then if we hit the E key, we can now extrude, and we're going to follow roughly in steps the sides of the shape, this curve of the wheel, like this. And we can, if we don't like things, we can pick them up and move them. And then if we go to the camera view, and then if we hit the A key, select everything, and then the G and X, and we're just going to move it roughly over the wheel like this. Doesn't matter too much at the moment. And then we're going to go back into object mode and add our modifier and add our subdivision surface and make it 2. And you can see we've got a curve now. So we want this to go all the way across. So we're going to hit the 2 key to select edges, and it should now select all of the edges that we already had. But if not, hit the A key and hit E and X and extrude it across like this. And we've got a mudguard. I want this to have a harder edge, but we're also going to extrude the geometry so that we've got some depth to it. So we're going to go into face mode with 3, and then we're going to hit H, select all. Then we're going to use the extrude menu, so that's Alt and E, and then extrude faces along normal. I'm just going to pull it down like this, not too thick. You'll see why in a minute. So let's go with this for now. And then we're going to start putting our edge loops in again. So Control and R to put a cut here, Control and R to put a cut there, and then I don't mind this curve on this side, but I'd like this edge to be straighter. So we'll put that in there, and maybe we can control the curve a little bit. So you'll see that depending on where we put this cut, this curve here changes. And let's make this one at the bottom much straighter. So there we go, and we're just going to right click and shade smooth, and now we've got a front mudguard on the car, and we're just going to do the same trick of mirroring it. So add modifier, search. If your mirror's not coming up, remember MIR. And then we're going to select the car body, and there we go. We're getting somewhere now. We could take this onto the back if we wanted to. I actually quite like it having one. Let's see what it looks like, but I think just one mudguard will do us. Don't know, it looks pretty cool. Let's keep it. Okay. But we're going to stretch this out a little bit. So we're going to hit the tab key and then the number 1. And make sure you go to X-ray mode, because remember, if you don't, I'll show you what happens if you're not in X-ray mode. If I drag like this, it's only going to select the edges that are visible, which is kind of works for me this time, but let's do it properly. So we want to select both of these like this, turn off X-ray mode, and then we can hit G and X and just pull this out a bit more so it covers the back wheel. Okay, we're looking pretty cool. So let's keep adding some details in. I want to do some headlights, and we're going to do that using a sphere. There's 2 types of sphere, so Shift and A, and we want to choose UV sphere. So UV sphere, when we make it, you'll see it's made up of squares, and we're going to reduce this to, let's go for 12 again. And then I'm just going to hit G and X to move this to the side, and S to scale it down. And I'm going to introduce you to another useful key, which is the / key. And what that does is that solos the object you're working on. If you hit it again, it goes back to everything. So if you want to work on one part of the scene on its own, anything that you select, if I select multiple things, and then hit the / key, it does the same thing. So it's a really, really useful thing. And we're just going to go into the side view, and I'm going to hit X-ray up here and make sure we've got vertex selected with 1. And we're going to drag everything up to, but not including that line. And then if we hit X and vertices, we've got this half sphere. Then we're going to go to the edge select with 2 and alt click on this line here. And then you can probably guess where we're going to go now. We're going to hit E and then S to scale, and then E and X to push it back. E and S to scale, and let's do it one more time. E and X, E and S to scale, and then we'll just hit F to cap it. So let's put our cuts in before we apply the modifier, because we know what's going to happen now. So I want to put edges here, Control and R, Control and R, and we'll make this one, and this one, and this one. So just anywhere that you want there to be a hard edge, you're going to put cut in. And let's add our modifier. There we go, it's looking nice. and shade smooth. Cool. So we've got something that uses the headlights, and now we're going to hit backslash to go. Now I've worked from the wrong view here, so yours might be rotated differently, but I'm going to hit R and Z and rotate it -90. And let's go to the side view so we can, I'm so bad going to the side view. And let's position it kind of here and put it on the mudguard. And let's go to the front view and we're going to move it over on the X. And let's go a little bit tighter into the bodywork. And add our mirror. It's like a kind of sporty tractor we're designing here. And let's add in a bar that goes across the middle. So Shift A, and we'll just use a cylinder for this. And we can rotate it on the Y-axis and scale it down. And then let's just go to the side view. So there'll be a little bit of fine tuning here. Put it kind of roughly here. I think it's too big still. And then if we go to the front view and hit S to scale it, I think that's still too big, so we'll just scale the whole thing down and then S and X again. And we're now cloaking through the light, so we're just going to hit S and scale it on the X till it goes. Cool. And let's add another cylinder into the front. So we're going to make a bumper and cylinder and rotate on the Y-axis again. I'm going to scale it down, put it to the front of the car, and then scale it out and make it smaller again. Move it up on the Z-axis, put it forward, and then just want to go into edit mode and cut it down the middle again. So Control R and then just click, don't move it. And if it has changed position, you can always set it back to 0 on this factor here. And then we're going to go into X-ray mode up here and hit the 1 key and just drag a box around this side. And then hit X to delete the vertices. And then we're going to add a mirror modifier again. So turn off X-ray mode, search and mirror. And we want it on the X-axis and turn on clipping. So it's exactly the same as the car body, and now we can work on one half of the car at a time. So we'll go into this face select and select this end, and then we'll hit I to insert. It's a little bit fiddly and when you're working on small shapes, so maybe we change the value here. And then E to extrude it in. And let's put a little bar here as well. So Control and R to make a cut. And then we're going to bevel it again. Mine's already selected. And we'll just pull it out like that. And then Alt and E to bring up the extrude menu. And we're going to extrude along normals and pull that out like that. Okay. And then let's put a loop cut here. And a loop cut here and here. And one here. And one here. And it should be good. And then let's apply our subdivision surface. Turn that up to 2. I'm happy with that actually. So you just notice we've got some weird stuff going on here. So let's put another loop cut in to help it out, and that should smooth that face, and we'll do one here too. So we're just a little bit too close to the front of the car there. There we go, we've got a mirrored bumper, and we've got a little bit more of a curve here than I'd like, so we're just going to put a cut in there. And there we go. Okay, so let's name this bumper. And we're going to then hit Shift and D and then move it back on the Y-axis. And I want to make the whole thing smaller. And we're just going to pull it forward like this. And then you'll remember from before, if we go into edit mode, turn on X-ray and select the vertices, and we drag on all of this, we then hit G and X, we can move it out like this. So I want this to come quite far out. And then we're going to hit Shift and D again, and the Z key, and we're going to look at our pipe this. So we've got a kind of back bumper, and let's bring our rear lights in as well. So we're going to duplicate these. You can make a different design. I'm working for speed here, just making something fast and simple. So we want to rotate these on the z-axis 180 degrees. And then we'll move them down, scale them down a little bit, and push them in, and we'll just check that they're touching the rear bumper. Maybe somewhere like that. And there we go. Okay, so let's go into viewport shading, and we're going to finish up by putting some materials on everything. So let's start with the car body, and we're going to hit the material button, and let's make a new material, and we'll call it car body paint 1, and let's give it a kind of, let's give it a red color, like a red, and then we'll hit tab to go into edit mode, and if you just line up your view to the side and hit X-ray, and then we can just drag, and I've got everything I want apart from this row, so let's just go to select more or less and choose more, and it should then go out one more row. Perfect. And then we're going to hit the plus key and make a new material. We're going to hit assign. I'm happy with this being white, but let's name it car paint 2. Cool. So there we go, I've got two-tone paint, so we're looking pretty cool. You can come up with any color that you want. Let's make these black, so we're going to make a new material, and let's call this car paint black, and then we can select this back one and do the same thing. Okay, let's tackle the chrome. So click on our headlights, click on new, and then we want to make this fully metallic, take our roughness down quite up. Not all the way, like again, you can decide how shiny you want it to be. You might want it fully shiny, like it's somewhere like here, and maybe just a little bit of a darker grey. So we'll call this shiny blue plastic, and we're going to select this, and then from our drop down, this is why we name things. We've got shiny plastic. Just going to work our way around and name everything. Okay, and let's finish up on the wheels. So I'm going to make a kind of, let's name this tyre, and we'll make it not fully black, like a kind of grey, and then we'll drop the roughness down a bit. And then if you go into tab mode, and we're going to select, if we choose face key, and then we're going to do this a few more times, so select more, so we can keep expanding out, and I'll show you why we're doing it this way. So we're going to keep going, and a couple more clicks. Yeah, that should be good. And then we'll turn off X-ray mode, and we're going to hit the plus key, and then we should be able to choose car body paint and hit assign. And then if we select less, you'll now retract. So we want to do this a few more times. One more time, I think. Oh no, actually that's correct. So there we go. We're going to hit the plus button and choose shiny plastic and then hit assign. And now we've kind of made all of our wheel details. It's looking really cool. So we could manually do all of this by hand. I'm going to show you a little trick. And that is, we're going to select the front wheel and then select the back wheel with the shift key. And then if we hit Control and L, I'll choose link object data, and it will transfer all the model details from one part to the other. So it's saved as a job. And there we go. I think we've got a finished toy car. And if you want to know how to set up your camera and render this, there's a tutorial just here on that. But otherwise, let's save this up, and this is your first subdivision surface model. Looking really cool. Good work.